Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Introduction to BIM 360 Document Management. And happy Friday, everybody. I hope you have a cup of coffee or tea next to you. We're going to have an exciting next hour to talk about this solution. So under this current situation now, many people are working from home. So whether you are looking for a solution, a file sharing solution, whether you are currently using Dropbox, OneDrive, or FTP, or any sort of file sharing solution, BIM 360 is a cloud-based solution that is specifically for the AEC industry. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Eva Lai. I'm the Industry Account Manager for AEC within Ontario. So I manage the architects and engineering and construction firms within Ontario. And my counterpart today is Peter Fensty. He is our technical consultant, and he's also one of our trainers he is specialized in Revit and Dynamo and some other solutions as well. And for those of you who are not familiar with SolidCAD, let me just take a moment to walk you through what we do. We do training. In this climate now, we are migrating most of our trainings to online. So if you are looking for training, contact us. We can arrange customized online training for you. But when this is over, obviously we do in-person training as well. And we do BIM consulting, Scant BIM, and we also host events. For those of you who might have attended our Revit Pub Night, that's once a quarter that we do. So we gather people from around the industry to share best practices. And of course, we do provide technical support. And you might recognize these logos for our partners, namely Autodesk. SolidCAD is the #1 reseller for Autodesk in Canada, and other industry-related partners such as Bluebeam, CTC, Faro, Metapor, Lumion. These are visualization software and so forth. And just some housekeeping. We will be your microphone will be muted, and you can type your questions in the chat box, and we will be answering their questions periodically when it's appropriate. And without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Peter. Here you go, Peter.
Excellent. Thank you, Eva. So today, obviously, today's class is going to be about BIM 360, specifically the docs section, so the document management portion of BIM 360. Okay, so let me just make myself the presenter. Share my screen and start this. Whoops. Okay, so the document management portion is what we're going to be talking about today. The portion that actually links to live collaboration with Revit is going to be on a separate presentation that's going to be on Monday at 1 o'clock. But for our purposes here today, we're going to be talking the document management. So in order to start our the document management, we're going to have the account admin, the one person dedicated to taking care of all of our licenses. That person is actually going to be in charge of these licenses as well. So the same person in your office that would be in charge of the say Revit licenses, it would be a good idea to have the same person in charge of these ones as well. So this person would be sent an email to sign in and activate the BIM 360 account, and you would get an email based on that. And then all we need to do from that point forward is actually just log into our BIM 360 admin or BIM 360 portal with that same Autodesk account. Okay, so based on that BIM 360, so once we have the one person logged in to actually work with this work with BIM 360 logged in as the account admin. This person is going to come in, and it would be a good idea to for that person to invite, let's say, a secondary account admin, just in case someone's off for whatever reason, let's say vacation. And if something needs to happen, we can always have a secondary person. But just to kind of go over the interface a little bit, at the very top A over here, we actually have our account picker. So this actually allows us to swap back and forth between accounts. So if I've been invited to work with 2 or 3 different architects on different projects, I can easily go and access the BIM 360 account for those individual offices. But at the same time, that account picker also allows me to choose under my current account that I'm on, which project do I want to access. So it'll allow me to just cycle through and find which project I want to actually go into and navigate through. I also have the module picker. This allows me to go between our document management, our project admin, account admin, that sort of stuff, and actually be able to just navigate to different aspects of our of BIM 360. Now we also have a list of on the further onto the right here, we actually have a list of our projects. So whenever we let's say for projects, all of this whole list is going to be a list of every single project under this particular account. Now we can easily go through adding more. We can also add specific members to our, so we can invite members to our to BIM 360, and it's just a matter of so once we put in their email address, we can just BIM 360 will actually send them an email, and we'll have assigned a license to them, and they can come in and join BIM 360. So each member can also be part of a company, so we'll have access to create companies as well. So each member is a good idea to actually have a default company assigned to them as well. And lastly, we actually have analytics and settings over here. Analytics allows us to go through and just kind of take a look and see what activity is actually happening on our on each of our projects, how many members are actually utilizing the software, that sort of thing. And the settings allows us to just customize what how we interact with BIM 360, including an activity log. Okay. So with the once we get into a particular into the particulars of a project, we can actually go through adding additional projects. We can actually search through a whole list of projects by the project name, and we can filter different things out, so we can actually see only certain things if we need to. Okay. So to start, we're actually going to start with creating a brand new BIM 360 account, and that is for the account admin to start. So this person is going to activate the service. So we're going to activate BIM 360, BIM 360 docs specifically. They're actually going to they should be emailing another account admin as well. So we're going to invite another member. We're going to invite another account admin so that they'll have the exact same rights as the first person. Just make sure everyone's on the same page, or making sure that under no circumstances do we have anything in case someone's off on vacation. We can still have access to all of these, all the same functionality. After that, we're actually going to go through and set up our account administration. So we're going to go about creating a profile, adding members, and creating companies. So this person's going to come in, create different. So the account admin is the only person that's going to be able to create or add other account admins. So as we go through, we also have the ability to add custom integrations with things like Autodesk Forge and Bluebeam for different functionality. And then this account admin is going to go through and actually create projects as well. So the account admin is the only person that's able to create a project. But once the project is created, we can invite a project admin who can take over, invite all the members, the companies, set up the folder structures, that sort of thing. So they can actually go forward and take it from there. So that's not to say so the account admin is still able to do all of that. They just also have the ability to invite a project admin for those purposes. So for the project admin, they're going to get this tab here. So for each project, you're going to need to assign a specific project admin, and that person can go through and populate more information about the project under the profile. They're also able to go through adding specific members and companies. And the services that they're able to add includes is where we would go through and add our BIM 360 docs or BIM 360 design or other types of services that we can add on top of it. Okay, so to add project members, we can simply go into the project admin can simply go into members and click on add. All they're going to do is come in and actually just type out their email address. And then once that's done, they're going to end up with a line item for that person. And they can add that person to a specific company, as well as add a specific role for that person. Now, because the project admin can activate specific services, we can actually apply very particular user permissions based on their role. So if this person is, let's say, a subcontractor, they'll have access as a user to take a look at our BIM 360 docs and BIM 360 design, or whatever other modules we have added to that as well. So just to kind of go over a little bit about what each individual type of user can actually do. So the account admin can create new projects, as well as all the other things moving forward down here. So but a project admin can add and manage project members. Okay, so only the account admin can create new projects. But the project admin will be able to take care of all of the day-to-day details that a project that will be required for individual projects. Okay. After that, there are full members, so they're able to actually go through and upload models and other particular files like DWGs, PDFs, Revit files, you name it. They're able to actually upload those things and actually create markups and do a little bit of clash detection and see differences between different versions of particular files. Okay. Next up, we actually have limited members. Limited members can just upload folders, but unfortunately they cannot delete or move models around. So they're able to actually add additional add additional files, but they can't go through and remove certain things. So reviewers can only see things. So if you need a member that's only able to see what's there and review, but not able to add other things, other file types. So that's what the reviewer will be able to do. Okay. So in our member directory, we're actually able to go through. So again, for the account admin, we're actually able to go through our member directory and be able to add additional members as well. Each member is assigned based on their Autodesk ID. And we can actually activate or deactivate the status of individual users. So it's a good idea to keep all of our users within BIM 360, just to activate or deactivate based on if they're within the company, if they're still working on a particular project. Okay. All right, so we can do this. Can do a lot of the same stuff for companies. So each company, we can go through adding different things based on what companies we actually have applied to. We're actually going to be working with, and we can actually apply or add different members from those companies and actually add them to our BIM 360 here. So under the Analytics tab, as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're actually able to see all of our different members. We can actually go through and see. We can actually see how many of those members are actually internal users versus external. So do they belong to our company or another company? We actually go through and see exactly how much time between renewal dates. So then again, this Analytics tab is all for the account admin. So we can again, we can also go through our user management and actually be able to edit access. So actually apply different licenses to each of those people. It's actually probably a good time to actually talk about licenses. So with when we're talking about licenses, it's a good idea to kind of break our licenses up into two different piles of users. So one is the non-Revit users, the people that are not going to be doing the day-to-day CAD work. Those non-Revit users are going to need to be assigned a design collaboration, or sorry, not a they're going to need to be assigned a docs license. Now the docs license is actually you cannot bring your own docs license. So if I'm working with an outside company, that outside company is going to have to be assigned a certain number of licenses to each of those individual users by the parent company. So by the company that is the admin for this particular BIM 360 account. Whereas the other the Revit users, you can actually bring your own license. So if I'm an architect and I'm working with a structural engineer and I invite them to work on our Revit files, I can collaborate within BIM 360. I can actually they can actually bring their own BIM 360 design license and actually use that instead of a instead of a docs license that's supplied by the architect in this case. Okay, so we're actually able to go through our settings as well and able to change up the profile for this particular account, and we're actually able to go through here and add particular account admins as well. Business units are meant for, let's say if a company has multiple offices, let's say one in Toronto and one in Vancouver, we can set up different business units for those. We're able to actually add custom integrations, and again, that's more of, I can add integrations into Forge, or I can add integrations for, Bluebeam. And actually able to see, I can also able to see a log of, who did what at what point. Okay. So at this point, I think I'm just going to jump over into BIM 360 and kind of show you exactly how all of this is going to run. So now that we actually have a BIM 360 account, we can actually see a list of all of our projects that are available to us, and we're actually able to go through and add our own projects, and actually able to populate a bunch of information about those projects. So I would actually go through and populate a particular project, just give it a particular project name, project type, what type of project are we actually working on. Give it an address and a bunch of contact information as well. And then I'll be able to go through and actually create a particular project. So in my case, I actually, I'm working on, I already made a project for this purpose. So I'm actually talking about, so once I click on a particular project or create a project and go into it, I'm able to actually go in and be the project admin in this case. So I want to be able to go through and create additional members. So if I want to, let's say, add my colleague here, Ava Luck. I can actually go through and add this person to my project. Now I can make this person part of a specific company. And once we have companies in, we can actually just individually go through picking individual ones. Or we can actually talk about, roles as well. So the roles dictate which permissions we actually give to individual people. So if I say I don't want this person to be a BIM manager, but I want them to be an architect, their permissions change based on how those work. And if I don't want this person to be an admin, I can just simply say, oh, this person has just member access to design document management. Or if I want them to be part of different modules, I can add or subtract those as well. So I want them to have just regular member access or no access at all. Or if they were an admin, they would often need admins of those as well. Okay. So I can also go I can actually go through and create different companies as well. So in this case, if I can go through and talk about or add information to particular companies, I can go through creating those as well. So once those companies have been set up, I can also go in and talk a little bit about the company roles. So for each individual role in here, I can actually, that we talked about in our members section, for each of those roles, we can see that I have a bunch of different modules that have been activated, or the ones that are available to me And for each of these roles, I can say, who has access to which one. Okay. And so when I create a member and I apply a specific role, those will actually, those particular permissions will be set automatically for them. I also have our analytics. So again, we can go through, see, how many members are working in particular company. How many members, internal members we actually have activated here, as well as external members and unassigned company members. As well as a whole bunch of other information we can actually extract from BIM 360 about each of our projects. So we're also able to actually go through our settings and actually be able to go through and change all of our account admins. We're able to go through and add different business units. So again, if I have different offices, let's say one in Vancouver, one in Toronto, I would add one for each of those. Custom integration, so I can easily go through, add integrations for Forge, for example. And then our admin activities will actually allow me to see who's been added or removed from certain things. Just the log for BIM 360 as a whole. So that kind of covers what we can do with our account admin. So instead, I'm actually going to take this over to back to, where was that? Back to our project, and we'll go back and we'll talk about a little bit about our project admin interface. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the chat. My colleague Ava is going to be monitoring that. So the project admin is going to be the person who's able to add members to individual to all the individual users. They're able to be able to send emails out to individual members and invite them to BIM 360. Being able to actually apply them to specific companies and apply specific roles to those individual people, including giving them access or changing up their permissions for each of those people as necessary. So this person can also go, the project admin can actually go through as well and work with individual companies within that get added as part of the member invite. This person is also able to go through and activate individual services. Okay, so the main service we always want to activate here is going to be document management. And for any of the other ones to work, we will have to activate document management first. Document management is the portion of BIM 360 that allows you to store files. Okay, so if we can't store Revit files, we can't work with design collaboration because we need a place to store those Revit files. And as I go through and activate each individual piece, I can go through applying, adding different people as admins for those particular modules that get or services that get activated here. And for each project, we're also able to go through and change up the project information. So we can always add always add or apply this to a particular business unit if we need to. I can add in a proper project numbers, contact information, location, that sort of stuff. So once all of this is, so once we have all of our members added to our project, and we actually have at least document management activated for BIM 360, like we can actually go through to our module picker over here and actually take care of going through finding all of our different modules. So we can actually go through into document management. So document management is actually going to give you two folders to begin with, and that's going to be actually plans and project files. The main difference I want to emphasize right here is that our plans is going to be all of our completed files, all of our milestones that we want to save. And then our project files is actually going to be all of our work in progress stuff. So our project files, we're going to be saving our Revit file to so that, and this is in the project files is where we're going to save that Revit file so we can collaborate back and forth with everyone with design collaboration. And so with under project files, we can go through and create a different folder structure for each individual team, for each. So I would have one folder structure for each company that's been invited to work within this BIM 360. Okay, so I would have one for myself. Let's say I'm the architect, for example. I would invite the structural consultant and give them their own folder and their own permissions over those folders. Now, if we're inviting people from when we're setting up permissions for our members to begin with, we want to make sure that we set the lowest possible permissions for those individual people, because at this stage I can come in and actually apply different permissions to individual people for different folders. The problem here is that I cannot take away permissions that they are granted at the member level. So it must always be, I can always give them more permissions, but I can never take those away with this permissions set up here. Okay. So within each of these folder structures, since if I'm working with this one here, I can actually go in and set up whatever standard folder structure that I would have within within our local server. I would have to actually apply that same folder structure here under my particular company. There's actually quite an easy way to do this, and that's actually with Desktop Connector. Another little app that Autodesk gives us, and we're actually able to just go into Windows Explorer, just like we would navigate around our local server. But instead, we're actually going to find that we have BIM 360 available to us once we have the Desktop Connector installed and running. So once I open this, it's going to be navigating through. We're going to be navigating through all those same folders the same way we would with our local server. So in this case, I can actually go into project files and see those exact same design collaboration. I can still see that architectural folder and be able to go through and apply different, add different folders or files to here by copy pasting and dropping them in here. So if I have a standard template of folder structures, I can actually just drop that right in here and know for a fact that it's going to be the exact same setup within BIM 360. Okay, so once I go through creating our our folder structure, I can go through adding different files. And I'm not limited to any particular file type. I'm not limited to just Revit files like this one here. I can also add in PDFs. I can add in DWGs. I can add in almost any file type that I can think of. If I need to work with Excel documents, I can add those as well. If I need to work with Word documents, add those as well. The process of adding something is pretty simple. We just need to navigate to the folder that we need to add those files in and simply hit upload files. This will just allow us to go to a particular folder structure and be able to grab whatever file we need and throw it on there. At the same time, we could also simply copy paste them into this folder structure within the desktop connector, within that BIM 360 from our Windows Explorer, and be able to add files that way as well. Or if we have those files, we can simply, apologies. If we have files, we can simply drag and drop from our Windows Explorer straight onto BIM 360, and it will simply load into, add into the document management into the folder structure here. So that allows us to add any of our folders that we add in here, and we're actually able to load it and work, bring it in and work with those. You will notice that once we bring something in, we get a bunch of information about that particular file. So in this case, if I bring in, let's say this CAD file, for example, I'm going to have a bunch of these different headers, including file size, when was last updated, who updated it, and whether or not there are markups or issues applied to those. And we'll get to markups and issues in just a moment. We'll also notice that we actually have a version applied to a particular folder or particular files. So for each of these files, where I can actually go through and say, this is actually the first version. But if I make a brand new, if I download this, make some changes, and upload it again, it's going to come in as version 2. And now I can actually see what the difference are between both versions. I'll be showing you that with our PDF. So that was a little bit about the project files. We're actually also able to work with our plans folder. Now, generally, our plans folder is broken up in one of two ways, and most people go this route by just having a folder structure set up for individual milestones. So if I have a 50% submission, or a 75% submission, or a permit set, or a tender set, all of those would actually have their same. Sorry, they would all have their under their own folder structure, and that's how a lot of people work nowadays. So instead of just dumping everything into a single folder, I create different folders for each of our submissions, and I can work with those individually. So under each of these, I can actually go. So under each of these, I made a folder for each consultant, and let's say the architect would come in, drop in individual, let's say a multi-page PDF. If I drop in a multi-page PDF into here, it's actually going to split it out and break it up into each individual file, so I can actually go through and I can just click on those, and within the BIM 360 viewer, I'm actually able to go through and take a look and see what is actually available here. And now I can actually go through and see on the left side, I can see a list of all of my markups. I can see a list of all of my issues as well. So within my markups, I can go through, so the pane on the right-hand side is actually a list of, allows me to create any markups. So I can go through and add additional information if I need to. Or I can add this and simply say, oops, I'm not even typing in there. And I can actually save that as a markup, and it will actually add it to a list of markups in the markup pane. Now I can actually go through and publish this markup and have it be visible to everyone within BIM 360 as well, as soon as it finishes saving that. So every single file right now is I'm able to, or every single PDF, I can actually go through adding all of these markups. And I can actually go through and publish these markups as well to make sure that everyone working in this file can see those markups as well. I can also add attachments to these, to each of the markups. So if I say this vestibule is too small, there must be a reason for that. And if I had a specification for, let's say, a foot grill that needed to fit in that space, I could add it to here as well. And then all of a sudden say, oh, now I know why I need to make it big enough to fit this particular foot grill. Okay, so that has to do with markups. Now we also have something here called issues. So in order to go through and add an issue, so the difference between a markup and an issue is actually that we are able to the markup, we can actually just able to go in and able to draw on our drawing and just be able to mark it up and just kind of add what we need to our PDF. But as far as issues go, we can actually go through. We should be able to actually go through and create a brand new issue. So an issue is actually, so I can actually just point to a particular point on our drawing and say, in this space, I have an issue, and actually able to assign that issue to a certain person. And once that person is going to receive an email, as well as, so if I go through creating an issue, I can say this issue is actually in a particular so this issue, I can actually go through assigning these types of issues to certain people. Then I can go through specifying particular due dates, specifying particular locations as well, and say who actually owns it. So what's the root cause of this of the issue that's actually happening, and actually be able to go through adding descriptions as well. So based on that, I can actually go through adding issues. And if I back out and I go back to BIM 360, if I just close that drawing, I'm able to go through and then say on this particular drawing, I was able to add a particular markup to that. Okay, but I can also go through and so every time I click on this, it's actually going to open up the latest version of this file. So I can actually add in 7 different ground floor files. If they're all the same file, just created a different date, it's actually going to increment on the version of this particular file. Okay, and that's actually the second way of working with our submission. So we could just have all of our, let's say, architectural files, and then instead of having a folder structure set up for folder structure set up for each of our submissions. Can use that, do that based on particular versions. If I did open up sets actually, so if I apply or add a set of files to our BIM 360, I can apply different sets to those, and you can see a couple of these files actually applied to a 30% submission set. And I'm actually able to go through and select a file, and actually able to go through and say, right, which one's current, which one. So all the different versions of each particular file. I'll be able to see which one is current, and I'm actually able to compare what the differences are between these two versions. So I can actually go through and compare versions. And once I do that, it's just going to ask me which ones I want to compare. And once this loads up, there's two different ways to actually see any differences that are made here. And we can actually see that everything in red belongs to been different or updated in the version 2, and everything in blue is different or updated or was the way it was set in version 1. And right now it's going to color code exactly how all this gets laid up. What we can also do is instead of just overlaying both drawings on top of each other, we can use what's called a side-by-side comparison. So if there is a difference, and I move this line back and forth, on the right side, you can see that this is actually the version 1. And on the left side, I can see this is actually version 2. And I can just move this line back and forth to say, what the difference is between each of these versions. I can just close that compare as well. So we're actually coming up on 10 to 2. Does anyone have any questions on any questions on how any of the things within BIM 360 work? Oh, sorry. Before I even get that far, I'm actually able to go through and find particular PDFs. I'm actually able to share these as well. So for each of these, I can actually either download the source file, or I can actually submit these for review. So if I do submit a file for a particular review, I can set it up. Oh, I need to. I can actually set up different types of review. So if I need to go through and actually have to say this needs to be go through for shop drawing approval, or just needs to be just reviewed by my supervisor for whatever way we end up working together. So I can actually set up a different approval workflow for each of these particular files. And as I go through, I can actually just say, I can just submit a particular set of files for that. And based on the approval workflow, it will go through very particular people to actually go through and review, and actually give them a specific timeline on which files they should review and when. They're actually able to go through, start the review, and add comments to them. Actually say this has been approved, this has been rejected. I can make comments on it. So if I submit this for review, it's actually going to go to this particular reviewer, and I can change that reviewer if we need to. And I can actually notify additional people as well. and enter a particular message. So once all of this is set, based on the type of review we selected, I can set up a particular number of days for them to be able to go through and review those. So if I send that, this person is actually going to get a particular review. So I can actually go through my reviews. I have one from a while ago, and I can actually see this one currently is open. I can click on it and actually start my review. And for each one of these, I can go, for this file, I can go through and I can make markups. Save those markups, add comments.
Hey, Peter, it's Eva.
Yes.
For the interest of time, do you want to quickly just show the mobile app accessed?
Yes, so I was just going to say this is pretty much the extent of this review. I can say whether it's approved or rejected or with comments and just simply submit that. I was also going to talk, just say that we can go through and share files, and we're actually able to go through and share files, not just with within BIM 360, but we're actually able to now share this outside of the company. So if I need to share with someone outside of BIM 360, I can. They'll get a link to be able to download those files. Okay. Whereas if I shared within BIM 360, they'll get a link and actually just be able to open up straight to BIM 360 as well. So as far as the mobile app, it runs very much the same way. Give me one moment to set that up. Where did I put that? There we go. Okay, so for our mobile app, it's a simple app that we have available for BIM 360, and we're actually able to go through and navigate to each of our files, and actually able to see, hey, I can look through all of my plans, I can able to look through all my project files. I'm able to navigate around, actually see which files I've downloaded, where all my issues are, be able to actually go through a list of other projects as well if I need to. So for these, I can actually go through and say, under project files, I want to take a look at some folders there. I can just navigate around and be able to open up any particular file. And I still have all of the same issue and markup tracking that I had previously. So I can actually go through, click on these, and actually say edit. And I can go through and now go through and create different markups as I need to, and finish those. It'll actually save those and work through as well. So I can actually go through 2 different folders, files as well. So that's the essence of the mobile app. You're able to go through, look through all of your files. You're able to make markups, issues. You're able to submit things for review. Able to share things outside of to pretty much anybody. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to drop those into the chat, and we can work with those.
So thank you, Peter. I'm just going to summarize some of the benefits of BIM 360 Doc specifically. Hold on, let me just, there we go. All right, okay, so here's our information in case you wanted to drop it down for any other questions that we would like to, you can follow up with us. Just to summarize the benefits of BIM 360 Docs, obviously it is a cloud-based solution. And the great thing about it is unlimited storage and unlimited projects. So you don't have to worry about, oh, if the file is too large, you know, there's no capacity on storage. So that is a beauty of this solution. And it also supports over 60 file formats such as DWG, Revit, you name it, Excel, PDF, Word, all of those. Some people even use it as a Revit viewer for people who don't have the Revit license on their PC. If they have a license to this BIM 360 Docs, they could use it to view the Revit model. That's the beauty of this solution as well. Like Peter mentioned, there is the mobile app access. You know, if people who are on site, if they want to just look at the model, they can easily pull it up from their phone. And this is also a great tool to collaborate 2D and 3D internally and externally. So, you know, you can collaborate the models from a 2D to a 3D as well. And the great thing about this is all of the activity is logged, and it's logged by the user, so you can see who did what and when. So there is accountability on someone said, oh, I uploaded the model, and then in fact, you know, they can see exactly the time that they uploaded it. So it's very transparent for this solution as well. And obviously there's permission to folders, so you can set different permissions to folders and who can access what. So sometimes there are some documents that is just for internal, then you don't want to circulate to external, then you set permissions. And overall, there's, like Peter showing, that there's markup and issues and things like that. So overall, this is the end of the webinar for today. We will be taking questions, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact any one of us. Our contact information is up there.
Okay, before we finish off this webinar, I did see one question come up here. Can we browse and review Revit models in BIM 360? So the answer to that is yes, we can, but it's a snapshot of that Revit model, and it has to be whatever that published snapshot of the Revit model. Okay, so if it's not live to whenever every user synchronizes, it's more of a publish up to BIM 360, and then that is the latest and greatest snapshot of that file. We can set automatic publishing so that, let's say, at the end of every day or end of every week, it actually publishes to BIM 360. You'll get a snapshot of the Revit model at that point.
So if there are no other questions, I would like to thank every participant today for joining today's webinar. We hope you learned something, and like I said, if there's any question, feel free to reach out to any one of us. And happy Friday. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.